In the nostalgia-laden moments of youth, a teacher poses a question to a class: what would you do if you could sell the rest of your life? The discussion kicks off, bustling with youthful curiosity and an air of philosophical wonder. Among the students is a young boy who, with his cheek resting on his hand, ponders this deeply. Well, if they're worth 300 million, then I should be worth 3 billion, he muses to himself, contemplating the value of existence. The classroom buzzes with diverse opinions. One passionate argument by a girl particularly stands out. She insists, you can't put a price on human life. It fascinates the boy, and he stores away her words as they strike a chord. As years roll on, this idea simmers in his consciousness, intertwined with something else, his complex relationship with Hymno, a girl known for her cleverness. Together, they are that smarty pants duo, always at the forefront academically, yet at odds personally. Despite their frequent clashes, there is a bond between them as they navigate the isolating corridors of elementary school. The other children may bully them, call them names, ostracize them even, but in each other, they find a semblance of solace. It becomes an unspoken pact: they may not be allies, but neither are they enemies. One summer, as the sun dips below the horizon, their footsteps swirl the dust at a quiet shrine. They exchange a whimsical vow: in 10 years, we'll be important and powerful. It sticks with the young boy, fueling a belief that better days lie ahead. Fast forward to the boy's present at 20. Life hasn't quite materialized as hoped. He's working at a paper factory after dropping out of university. Strapped for money and feeling the weight of unfulfilled dreams, he gazes at stacks of CDs in his room, symbolic of a disorganized, unattainable past. Desperate for some cash, he decides to sell his CDs. This act leads him to a peculiar little second-hand shop. There, an odd encounter with an elderly shopkeeper ensues. His choice is questioned with stark words: why would you waste money on these? Implicit is an unspoken challenge to reckon with the past and make sense of the directionless pieces of his life. The shopkeeper's odd logic weaves through the air, enigmatic yet strangely profound. The young man finds himself both perplexed and intrigued. The story lays the groundwork for an exploration of purpose and value, a young man burdened by the abstract weight of future promises and a past that haunts with what could have been. And beneath it all, memories of childhood, of debates and dreams shared under the vast summer sky with Hymno, linger like haunting echoes, waiting to resurface and redefine the next chapters of his life. After making the difficult decision to sell part of his lifespan, Kusunoki leaves the bookstore feeling the weight of what he's about to do. Memories from his school days haunt him, as he recalls being coldly measured by his peers regarding his future value. Struggling to reconcile his childhood dreams with his current predicament, Kusunoki's thoughts linger on how life has not gone according to plan. He heads to a CD shop, seeking solace from the oppressive heat, and encounters another conversation about selling lifespan, echoing what he heard at the bookstore. Inside, Kusunoki comes face to face with another employee, who, like the older man at the bookstore, treats the declaration that lifespan can be sold with surprising normalcy. The employee is young, clad in a shirt emblazoned with rebellious slogans, adding to the surreal atmosphere surrounding this transaction. Despite his doubts, Kusunoki proceeds to sell the majority of his lifespan, driven by desperation and a sense of hopeless inevitability. He conceals his doubts inside, clinging to the belief that his remaining time is sufficient for the plans he now needs to make. Kusunoki journeys to a rundown building, guided by directions from the employee. The building is eerily quiet and feels removed from time itself. He stands at the threshold of a door, reluctant to enter but driven by an urgent need for change. Inside, he meets a woman who conducts the appraisal. Her demeanor is clinical, and Kusunoki finds himself wondering how such a mundane process can dictate the remainder of his existence. Skeptical yet compelled, he learns his life's worth could range vastly. While his younger self dreamed of a life valued at 10 million yen per year, the reality proves starkly different. He's appraised at just 300,000 yen. Initially shocked, Kusunoki can't help but accept the valuation, refuse the dignity of feeling exceptional or noteworthy. With a mix of resignation and dark humor, he accepts the market's indifferent verdict. Exhausted, Kusunoki roams aimlessly, the realization of his diminished lifespan weighing heavily. He reflects on the common man's value across comparable lifespans, illustrating his acceptance tinged with bitterness. Even as the cold hard facts of his worth churn painfully within, Kusunoki presses on, trying to find some semblance of solace in the anonymity of the crowd around him. Amidst this echoing disillusionment, Kusunoki resigns to his decision, finalizing the sale of a significant portion of his lifespan for a meager sum. He immerses himself in menial distractions, foolishly buying things for the first time with a semblance of freedom. However, these actions bring little satisfaction or escape from the invisible chains that now bind him. Awakening to a stifling mourning, Kusunoki's thoughts drift back to Himino, a figure from his past who influenced his decision to cling to life despite its emptiness. Her name triggers warmth layered under a decade of unfulfilled promises and nostalgia. Himeno's imagined presence is his companion through aching isolation, providing a bittersweet comfort even as it becomes clear she too is an echo of a past that never became the future. Kusunoki contemplates the futility of hope, yet he is inexplicably buoyed by memories that inspire a distorted pride. Despite understanding the significance of being loveless and devoid of anchor, he clings to the remnants of a joyless life. Recognizing his self-inflicted imprisonment, Kusunoki resigns himself to what little time remains without pretense or desire for redemption. The narrative shifts when a woman, Miyagi, enters Kusunoki's life, making the extraordinary familiar. Miyagi disrupts Kusunoki's stagnant world, announcing that she will monitor his remaining days. Her introduction is understated yet profound, and it's clear that her presence will redefine the value of Kusunoki's final months. Their interaction is laced with an unspoken tension, Miyagi serving as a silent observer while Kusunoki navigates his unease and fear of being watched. Kusunoki harbors a mix of curiosity and frustration, largely due to Miyagi's passive role in what is an otherwise active transformation of his life. The static nature of her role contrasts starkly with the dynamically spiraling thoughts coursing through Kusunoki's mind. As Miyagi stands as an impartial observer, his distrust of the situation grows, yet he also yearns for understanding. Miyagi reflects the absurdity Kusunoki feels, merely existing as a constant presence that subtly reminds him of how precious each passing day is. Despite his initial resistance, Kusunoki gradually adapts to Miyagi's silent companionship, realizing that perhaps her presence heralds a chance to find meaning within his ephemeral existence. Amidst this growing bond, he senses that these finite days have become strangely liberating. From this peculiar partnership, Kusunoki learns to cherish small moments that add richness to his truncated lifetime. Miyagi, through her quiet companionship, becomes the force that awakens Kusunoki's dulled senses and raw emotions. In a world twisted by transactional living that values years in yen, Kusunoki's journey with Miyagi breathes life into his precious last months. They share a silent understanding, and though Kusunoki still grapples with the absurdity of his plight, he finds unexpected solace in confronting mortality with unexpected company. Miyagi's role transcends mere observation, and unknowingly, she becomes the guiding presence Kusunoki so desperately needed, showing him that the stark finality of life can still harbor moments worth living for. In the fading light of sunset, amidst the warm symphony of cicadas and crawling traffic on a tired road, a pit-stop restaurant becomes a quiet sanctuary for Kusunoki. He's trying to lead a mundane life, keeping thoughts of a significant other at bay, while the colors in the sky melt into darkness. He intently indulges in a bowl of noodles, shepherding himself through the motions of routine, one he hopes would momentarily stave off the awareness of his life's alterations. Inside his apartment, Kusunoki grabs a notebook and pens down aspirations he now wishes to achieve within his severely curtailed lifespan. It's a jarring exercise, reminding him of what he now values. Yet, quietly intruding on this moment of self-reflection is Miyagi, watching him closely. Her appearance is unsettling, inhumed with an authority that demands understanding rather than mere acknowledgement. Miyagi points at "Meet with Himino and tell her how I feel" on his list, her voice sharp with significance. The air between them brims with unspoken questions: who this person is, what she means to him, and why it matters now when the sands of time are nearing their end. Kusunoki, overwhelmed, grapples with the memory of Himino, his high school love who married someone else. Her fading presence in his life emerges poignantly now, urging Kusunoki to confront past promises and lingering emotions. Miyagi, aware of the chaos unraveling within him, reminds him of the futility of unraveling the past that's been sealed by prior decisions. As they converse, Kusunoki perceives a mix of caring realism from Miyagi. She urges him gently, "I'll tell you everything if you ask, but knowing too much might not live up to your hopes." Her words challenge him, push against the dire inclination to squander what time remains on hollow longings. Amidst excuses and musings of a future that'll never be, Kusunoki decides it's not the past he must dwell on, but the here and now. There, underneath the clutter of unfulfilled dreams, lies the semblance of real understanding and acceptance, a redemption of sorts. Kusunoki attempts to reach out to Wakana, a college friend who once bridged the vast emptiness he feels. The outgoing dial tone echoes his desperation until a muted dead signal confirms the distance between them. Helpless, Kusunoki wordlessly endures the weight of tenuous connection slipping away, not realizing how much he yearns for even this shallow companionship. In his messages and calls to Wakana, ridden with the nostalgia of past conversations and missed interactions, Kusunoki faces the absence of responses, a solemn reminder of his dwindling significance. Even as he clings to the hope that perhaps an error caused this silence, an aching certainty settles in. Miyagi speaks up, her voice stark amidst the quiet despair. Without judgment, she comments on Wakana's possibly deliberate choice to not indulge in a journey already determined by Kusunoki's earlier decision to sell his lifespan. Her words resonate, highlighting the myriad realizations Kusunoki has thrust upon himself. A lingering echo of loneliness haunts him. It's a void not filled by passing people or places, unsoothed by trivial escapes. He strolls into familiarity, yet counters it with an eye-opening awareness of his inherent solitude, one he rebuffs alongside the ticking clock of his days. Miyagi, offering a coach of solace, consistently remains physically near, her presence both warming and electrifying in its silent company. When Kusunoki proposes a drink, an invitation to her, Miyagi remains immersed in her observation notebook, a testament to their unspoken camaraderie. Finally, under the exhausted weight of disbelief and urgency, Kusunoki blurts out, amid growing intoxication, a resolute plan to make his limited time mean something worthwhile. Yet, Miyagi's reaction, veiled in skepticism and gentle reality, challenges him to see beyond the bravado of empty declarations. Kusunoki is torn between yearning for a glimpse into the future and fearing what it'll reveal. Miyagi presents a riddle-like choice, an offer to share knowledge of what might have unfolded, tempered with a gentle warning, knowing doesn't always equate to happiness. It's a pivotal crossroad, urging Kusunoki to decide whether truth, cloaked in its harsh clarity, is better than the oblivion of ignorance. As fireworks color the night sky, cracking open the multicolored symphony above, Kusunoki stands stark against both longing and acknowledgement of desires that may never be sated. As the vibrant display fades into the ether, the moment crystallizes, a reflection of choices, past and present, flaring passionately, only to dissipate into memory. Miyagi promises to unfold secrets of potential futures, and amidst the retreating echoes of fading fireworks, Kusunoki finds himself at the brink of unknowable realizations and decisions yet to be made. In the dim light of a small, cluttered room, Miyagi delivers a harsh truth to Kusunoki, forcing him to confront the bleakness of his future. She explains that his life will soon collapse, leaving him hollow and devoid of meaning. Once empty, she says, you make enough money to get by, read books, listen to music, and sleep, nothing else. Her words pierce the air, filled with an unsettling certainty. Kusunoki's college years were barren, yielding no substantial gain. The once bright promise of youth had slipped away, replaced by a suffocating despair. He had once believed himself unique and capable of anything, but now he faced the reality of mediocrity. Destruction. Kusunoki asks, echoing his disbelief back to Miyagi. Miyagi clarifies, it's true that it's common. But the act of truly accepting the state and moving forward is a revelation. Her insights resonate deeply with him, prompting introspection about his life's seemingly endless cycle of dissatisfaction. Despite the ominous realities Miyagi outlines, Kusunoki thinks about the devil's proof she describes, the hope that something extraordinary might occur before his 50th year of loneliness. However, he knows this is merely an illusion, a way to deceive oneself into believing in potential salvation. The night wears on, marked by restless sleep. Kusunoki awakes to the sound of rain and realizes time has carried him further into despair's depths. Yet, the presence of Miyagi, despite her straightforward and sometimes cruel truths, becomes a tether to sanity. The rain sounds like a whisper of days past, a reminder of choices unmade and dreams abandoned. Kusunoki decides to take action. He unravels his list of things he wants to do, scrutinizing each item, realizing each reflects someone else's desires. I hate to say this, he admits, but this looks like a list of things you think someone else is likely to try doing before he dies. He's caught in a loop of uncertainty, yet he knows he must do something. Later, when the sky's clear, a rainbow emerges, painting the world with vibrant color. It's a fleeting moment, but it stirs something within Kusunoki. The rainbow symbolizes a hope he's forgotten, an overlooked promise of beauty amid life's chaos. But Miyagi advises, maybe you should look at it this way, that rainbow may never appear again. As Kusunoki wrestles with his choices, he visits an old friend, Nayuse, a figure from his past who remembers him with a mix of nostalgia and distance. During their conversation, Kusunoki struggles to maintain warmth and camaraderie but ends up confronting unresolved feelings. Even the act of reconnecting brings him no solace, instead, it leaves him with a raw, emotional scar. The past clings to Kusunoki like shadows he cannot shake off. Sitting in a cafe, Miyagi observes that his attempts to interact with others often go unnoticed. She tells him, every influence I might potentially have on another person is resolved with nothing. Kusunoki is bewildered, caught between the invisibility Miyagi embodies and his own transparency. As their time together carries on, Miyagi witnesses Kusunoki's unfolding understanding of his life. When he answers Naru's question about his pursuit of drawing, he confronts the lie that has crept into his identity. Since I started college, well, I haven't drawn at all, he admits, the revelation sinking heavily in his gut. These interactions serve as a backdrop to Kusunoki's slow, painful unraveling. He realizes that his anger at others often masks deeper, unaddressed pains. He acknowledges, maybe there's something bad about that, recognizing his habit of deflecting blame as a barrier to genuine connection. Kusunoki's self-discovery continues into the night as he sits on a bench after visiting a batting center. He feels the weight of regret and missed opportunities but finds something strangely liberating in acknowledging his faults. Miyagi offers companionship, and they share a drink, the camaraderie offering a brief respite from the heavy revelations of the day. He finally decides to write letters from the time capsule, a task filled with deep introspection. Trying to articulate his hopes to his childhood friend Imino, he finds himself caught between honesty and despair. Each word feels like a burden, yet he persists, knowing this small act might hold significance. Kusunoki's growth becomes evident as he reflects on the futility of trying to capture something as intangible as a dream. Still, with Miyagi by his side, the attempt feels less daunting. Discussing these thoughts openly with her offers a semblance of clarity. As the chapter draws to its somber conclusion, Kusunoki steps out with Miyagi, contemplating the future. Her words linger in his mind, challenging him to think deeply about his choices. Ransacking the time capsule, a simple act, becomes a metaphor for his journey, an excavation of memories and dreams. Despite the uncertainty, Kusunoki senses he is on the verge of discovering something important about life, even as the specter of death looms ever closer. In the end, Kusunoki stands at a crossroads, with Miyagi's guidance illuminating parts of his path. While the road ahead remains shrouded in doubt, he walks forward, carrying the weight of his past, the reality of his present, and the faint, flickering hope for a different future. In the midst of contemplating how to spend his remaining hours productively, the protagonist grapples with an unexpected twist of solitude. There's nowhere to go, no familiar comforts from his past, and the isolation prompts Miyagi to suggest, places from my past? The only memories I have of this town are bad. Her words resonate, echoing an existence detached from personal ties. As they walk, the protagonist wrestles with why it should matter if no one can see him during this observation period. He questions, just wondering why you care about how you look if no one can see you anyway. This statement strikes a chord with Miyagi, who seems slightly offended. Her retort is tinged with defensiveness, it's just something I do for myself. You take showers even when you don't have plans to meet anyone, don't you? This candid exchange leads to an exploration of his past. A memory of a sign from childhood absorbs his thoughts, inscribed with an arrow that used to guide him to secret forts. In an endearing attempt, he revisits this memory despite its haziness. His aimless footsteps bring him to a vacant lot where, with a mix of nostalgia and hope, he ventures to uncover a buried time capsule. Despite anticipation of finding personal treasures, the discovery reveals nothing profound. The protagonist chuckles, reminiscing on the naivete of youth. Yet this journey stirs deeper introspective thoughts as he combs through forgotten memories. Wakana's name surfaces, bringing back bittersweet nostalgia mixed with unspoken regrets. Upon returning, his encounter with Miyagi morphs into an intense dialogue. Assuming a tone both inquisitive and confrontational, he pushes, "Have you figured it out by now? You aren't meant to cling to your connections from the past." Miyagi, though seemingly unsympathetic, underscores the gravity of living deliberately in the present. They share these weighty moments as cicadas hum their background tune. The protagonist, sought in a rare moment of vulnerability, outwardly grasps the complexity of clinging to past memories vis-à-vis present survival. A gripping epiphany leaves him contemplating where his energy ought to be directed. In the morning, as dawn approaches, an earnest conversation about lost potential unfolds between them. Miyagi reveals she once tried to lengthen her life, an act mirroring the protagonist's existential grappling. Yet, there's inexplicable resignation in her voice. If something goes exactly right, perhaps I'll end up like her, she smiles, referencing her mother who sold years of her life. As the story unfurls, the protagonist's desire for resolution with Haimno, a childhood friend, becomes a central fulcrum. His determination is encapsulated in reading the letter he once wrote to his future self, finding in its earnest lines a sympathetic clarity he seeks to reclaim. Their dialogue bridges reflections upon time, both lost and foregone, as well as an unspoken desire for peace through understanding. Finally, in shared solitude with Miyagi, a tender gesture unfolds, sharing a cigarette, emblematic of their entwined fates and reflective of a connection that transcends superficial exchanges. Their mutual contemplation in the quiet dawn signals an introspective journey far from concluded. The protagonist ponders, perhaps for the first time with genuine hope, whether one might truly forge a life of meaning despite the looming clock. The contents of the letter seem trivial, filled with what would be typical musings during exam weeks. The writer reflects on their struggles with college entrance exams and shares a simple desire for the reader to come and visit during winter break. What stands out is the realization that these letters, once cherished by a 17-year-old girl, now appear insignificant. However, for someone like him, who hasn't received anything more heartfelt, they hold a unique value. There's an air of sarcasm within the letter. Was the writer's earnestness perceived differently due to how they expressed themselves? This mystery lingers as they ponder why this innocent girl became involved with exchanging such letters. About 2 weeks later, a sense of curiosity overwhelms them, and they finally reach out, wondering if the past 2 years were a mistake. These feelings spurred a visit to the writer's hometown during winter break. The same journey was made once before, in past winters. The moped ride home adds another layer to the nostalgia. A particular memory stands out, a comment about not being more than 100 yards from home. This phrase reverberates in Kusunoki's mind as he admits to a lack of adventurous spirit and a life without self-awareness. Upon arriving at the library, Kusunoki buys a simple breakfast. Miyagi, being observant, joins Kusunoki, enabling them to delve into reflective conversation. They discuss the true measure of time when confronted with mortality, weaving a tapestry of dreams, aspirations, and choices. This raises edge of life decisions gradually led to self-awareness about what the essence of living truly means. Kusunoki inquires of what Miyagi cherishes. Her response is an intersection of surprise and tenderness, an aspiration for something simple yet meaningful. Kusunoki presses for more details, promising, "Tell me something and maybe I'll listen someday." Miyagi's vague reply reveals an attachment to someone special, an enigmatic presence that provides meaning. Finding the right book becomes Kusunoki's next step. This quest drives him to make his way through the library, wrestling with existential queries about life and meaning. Realizing his choices, he selects works by Hemingway and other notable authors, searching for illumination within their pages. Miyagi's sudden proximity provides a soothing presence as Kusunoki reads The Gift of the Magi. The themes of sacrifice seem to echo their circumstances. Kusunoki's realization of how Miyagi's quiet commitment resembles the story they read blurs lines of fiction and reality. A return to the past is imminent when Kusunoki makes plans to visit Himino, guided by an event reminiscent of a past festival. The innocence of standing on the stone steps at a shrine, engulfed in vivid memories, shapes an unshakable resolve within him. This moment defines a bond once shared with Himino beneath the same stars. Meeting Himino invites mixed emotions, joy, uncertainty, and a strange sense of consistent nostalgia. Finally, with courage, Kusunoki utters her name. This simple act of recognition brings forth shock before familiarity and warmth fill the spaces between them. The anticipation of the meeting weighs heavily on Kusunoki's thoughts. He finds himself recounting memories with Miyagi, sensing her presence as crucial to facing the future. Her words serve both as grounding and as an exploration of the deep sentiments they share. Decisions allow for another encounter, one where Kusunoki prepares with newfound energy, a routine of self-care and diligent preparation for the impending reunion. Miyagi observes Kusunoki's preparation with an earnest reminder not to abandon his uniqueness. There's a quiet mutual understanding between them, a bond that transcends superficiality. They later venture into town amidst casual conversation under the cover of umbrellas. Banter keeps Kusunoki anchored yet aware. The prospect of the future, peppered with humor and introspection, carries the narrative to its poignant crescendo. Confronted by inevitable emotions, Kusunoki's interaction with Miyagi becomes a reflective mirror. Clarity comes into focus as he confesses intentions, realizing the depth of gratitude residing in his heart. The warmth shared in moments beneath that umbrella captures the essence of connection, an essence lived to its fullest in the span of being human. At the restaurant, Kusunoki and Himino continue their tense discussion. Kusunoki wishes for clarity on Hino's feelings since their past seems entangled in misunderstanding. As they delve into memories, Himino reveals admiration for Kusunoki's artistic talents. Her confession highlights an unspoken rivalry during their school days, a rivalry that fueled her determination to match his intelligence and creativity. This revelation surprises Kusunoki, unaware of the impact his presence had on her life. Their conversation grows contemplative as Himino reflects on her stagnant existence over the past decade, feeling trapped and unaccomplished. Kusunoki shares his own dissatisfaction with his trajectory, relating their mutual aimlessness to living without true purpose. Himino, driven by an unseen force, had written Kusunoki a letter that she feels he must read. It's a moment of vulnerability for both as they confront a decade of regret and unwritten words. Once alone, Kusunoki struggles with the weight of the letter, filled with emotions and admissions he didn't anticipate. Hino's departure leaves him in a reflective daze, unsure how to process her long-standing enmity turned admiration. When Miyagi returns, she senses the shift and opts for silence, knowing Kusunoki needs time to digest everything. Embracing the moment, they then turn to a simple meal. Kusunoki's mind lingers on Hino's words as he considers how these revelations reshape his understanding of their shared history. Miyagi, aware of Kusunoki's turmoil, subtly supports him through actions rather than words. As they leave the restaurant, a poignant moment occurs when Kusunoki is handed a letter from a stranger, the fulfillment of a mysterious request. The note stirs deep emotions, leading Kusunoki to a visceral response. It's a cathartic release of energy he didn't know he retained, urging him to confront his past boldly and without reservation. The next scene shifts to a rainy walk, where Kusunoki is drenched and penniless, yet finds comfort under a blue umbrella Miyagi holds. They tread through the downpour, symbolizing resilience and companionship. Seeking refuge in an old community center, they manage some rest, though Kusunoki's mind remains restless. Here, in the tranquil early hours, he grapples with thoughts about his future and Miyagi's quiet influence. Days pass, and Kusunoki returns to the familiar confines of his apartment, now acutely aware of the comfort it once lacked. His interactions with Miyagi, now filled with honesty, slowly transform his perspective on life. Their relationship, enriched by shared experiences, gravitates towards subtle intimacy. Miyagi prompts Kusunoki to consider what he might enjoy in life beyond monetary gains. Struck by the simplicity of the question, Kusunoki's search for interest feels foreign, yet their small adventure leads him to an unexpected realization about vending machines, oddly finding joy in their unchanging presence, a symbol of ordinary peace amidst chaos. In a vivid closing scene, Kusunoki finds a slice of childlike wonder in folding origami. As he crafts paper cranes, he feels a sense of connection, a temporary release from existential dread. Each fold represents a step toward reclaiming his fragmented self, reinforcing that even the smallest acts can hold profound significance. Together, under the night sky, Kusunoki and Miyagi's dialogues flow with newfound openness. They ponder the understated beauty in life's overlooked moments, savoring happiness in places once deemed insignificant. This mundane yet transformative journey through time and emotion signifies a renewed hope, underscored by the acknowledgement of past shadows and the embracing of whatever lies ahead. The story resonates with the truth that meaningful change begins with recognizing what one holds dear, often discovered in the embrace of genuine human connection. Kusunoki becomes absorbed in an unusual hobby, capturing the mundane, vending machines. Inspired by a story about finding meaning in trivial things, he sets out to create a collection of what he calls the kind anyone could do. His friend, Miyagi, takes interest, admitting she doesn't understand it, but she kind of likes that. As Kusunoki randomly photographs everyday machines, the simplicity of them contrasts with the complexities of life he faces. Each day, he pastes the pictures into an album, noting how they paradoxically stand out against each other. Returning to the photo lab, he meets an employee who chats with him about his project. The employee is intrigued by Kusunoki's choice in subject matter, considering it akin to documenting every possible moment. Miyagi's presence is a constant, her role as his monitor adding another layer to his journey. As they leave the lab, he interacts with cats lingering around. Miyagi makes a drawing and Kusunoki playfully accuses her of using the cats as cover for her sketches. "That's why I'm practicing," she states smugly. Kusunoki revisits a bench near his childhood home, encountering an elderly woman who doesn't immediately recognize him. After some probing conversation, she recalls Kusunoki's earlier years. He reflects on forgotten elements of his past, like his close bond with a girl named Emino. Hino's memory is sharp in Kusunoki's mind, a connection untethered by time. He recounts burying a time capsule with letters, only to realize Hino's wasn't there when they retrieved them. It dawns on him that Himino might have been distressed back then. He ponders his oversight and the burden of losing her friendship. The elderly woman listens patiently, acknowledging his sorrow. Kusunoki explains his regret in missing signs that Himino needed help, her struggle obvious only in hindsight. As Kusunoki revisits the vending machines, Miyagi comments on his creative process. Kusunoki wonders aloud why such trivial photos hold his interest, but finds comfort in the routine they provide. In a quiet exchange, he divulges his hope, "I'm going to get away with it due to the circumstances." After leaving the bench, Kusunoki reflects on his choices. Later, he considers a sudden trip with Miyagi, a notion he isn't entirely serious about. Yet, the idea of visiting somewhere unknown ignites a sense of adventure that he hadn't felt in years. They set out on his old motorcycle, reaching an oceanfront location. Kusunoki closes his eyes on Miyagi's instruction, experiencing a profound moment of calm. He recalls past dreams, wishing they were true, but acknowledges finding solace now. Miyagi, breaking the silence, shares her own past. She empathizes with Kusunoki, admitting to a past where she, like Himino, felt misfit. Unlike Kusunoki, Miyagi's path took her into a life shadowed by her role, watching over people without actively living her own life. She shares her desire to break free from this invisible existence. Their conversation deepens Kusunoki's resolve. He wistfully wishes to preserve their fleeting moments together. Returning to their apartment, he finds small comfort in knowing Miyagi shares this desire. The chapter concludes with Kusunoki looking towards the future, glimpsing the possibility of redemption and connection. Miyagi, marking her place by leaving her notebook, signals closure and a new beginning. Kusunoki muses on how these silent exchanges have become his cherished memories. The story unfolds with our protagonist, Kusunoki, deciding to record his thoughts in a notebook. Having made the choice to sell years of his life, a decision both momentous and isolating, he naturally finds himself grappling with obscure reflections on the value of time and companionship. One night, inspired by a conversation with a stranger observing his writing, Kusunoki admits, "I'm tallying all the things in my head and moving them around to see where they fit better." It's a methodical effort to defrag the chaos within him. Despite the late hour, Kusunoki's writing continues, a quiet therapy amidst the stillness of his room. As the television echoes small talk from neighboring apartments, he dons headphones to muffle the noise while the night envelops him like a cocoon. It becomes a meditative experience, his means to preserve moments slipping through the hourglass of his shortened life. Kusunoki spends the next day refining his notebook entries, marking the quiet rebellion of choosing to chronicle life rather than succumb to despair. He revisits familiar streets, each corner stretching his awareness of the fleeting moments he's chosen to forfeit. His internal monologue is interrupted by the sound of monetary transactions across various counters, a new sensory facet he hadn't paid attention to before. "I walked around and handed it out, one bill at a time," he confides. 10,000 yen bills exchanged for ephemeral slivers of interaction, though he knows, deep down, he's laughing for reasons he barely understands. Money in these instances seems weightless, a mere symbol, as the man he converses with suggests. Explaining his actions, Kusunoki reveals, "My situation struck me as kind of laughable," questioning the unexpected joy in giving away pieces of his purchased life. The morning light segues into another page of his narrative. Miyagi, the familiar face in his introspective journey, offers a warm smile, a touchstone anchoring him amidst the transitory blur. Her company transforms the mundane into a pilgrimage of their own, venturing between vending machines and streams lined with fireflies. Each step and each pause imbue their path with luminosity, much like the fireflies themselves. As they share this makeshift tour, Miyagi's candid observation touches a tender note. "I just wanted, for one thing in my life, to be in a position to give something unconditionally to someone else." Her words unravel layers of sincerity, unpeeling motives once cloaked in mystery. It's a revelation that mirrors Kusunoki's own introspection, a heavy-handed attempt at kindness bathed in sincerity. The confessions of both Kusunoki and Miyagi tether their respective journeys. Kusunoki's initial assumptions about life's value shudder in the face of genuine human connection. The pragmatic numbers once etched in contracts fade, replaced by intangible, priceless exchanges of meaning. In this web of vulnerabilities, Kusunoki's resolve crystallizes. Miyagi's influence, soft yet unequivocal, becomes the catalyst for awakening. It empowers him to redefine his remaining days not just as a countdown, but as a patchwork of intentional, however intangible, moments. Finally, in his quest for understanding, an encounter with an elderly bookstore owner encapsulates his newfound narrative. Here, amidst dusty pages and the owner's playful banter, Kusunoki entangles himself with life sagas much older than his own. The lesson is clear: there are lots of people who talk about success without achieving it. Resilient in his stance against hollow silhouettes of success, Kusunoki emerges inspired, choosing muscular definitions like love, regret, and empathy over the mere trickling sands of borrowed time. Kusunoki stands on a platform drenched by the rain, holding an umbrella awkwardly over one shoulder. Strangers eye him curiously, but Miyagi, standing beside him, laughs lightly. Kusunoki, embarrassed, tries to explain, "I just want to look foolish to someone else, but there's actually a heartwarming reason for that. You're letting yourself be charmed like a kid like this." Miyagi nods, her face warming with understanding, as Kusunoki's expression softens. They quietly enjoy the shared moment, laughing softly together. They push through a thunderous storm to reach their destination, drenched but full of the thrill of being alive. As they reach the bookstore, it feels as though the world's full of possibilities again. They leave the sheltering rain and step back into the sunlight. Kusunoki is struck by how enriched his life has become just by sharing these ordinary experiences with Miyagi. Thinking back to their first awkward interaction, Kusunoki says, "I hope you'll be proud of this someday." Miyagi smiles wistfully and replies, "I'll be happy as long as you can genuinely say you were happy with the time we've spent together." He feels the weight of his choices coming to bear but is determined not to waste the remaining days with Miyagi. Kusunoki shakes off his brooding thoughts and decides to indulge in every moment of joy they can find. They rent a boat, picking one that seems comically oversized for Kusunoki alone. The employee raises an eyebrow at the choice, used to seeing the boat rented by couples, but Kusunoki doesn't mind the impression. He grins, knowing how this must appear but finding it oddly enriching. Miyagi joins him in a shared laugh as they set out on the water. Kusunoki recounts his adventures exploring alone, indulging in the solitude that had once felt burdened with unease. "It's totally fine on your own, just as I thought," he muses, steering across the placid waters. "This is actually pretty fun. Do you want me to do anything?" Miyagi asks, her voice laced with sincerity as they drift together. Kusunoki considers this, understanding the gravity of her request. "Yeah. Just stay with me." Miyagi nods, accepting his wish, recognizing the fleeting nature of their companionship. As they continue their serene journey on the water, Kusunoki feels the clarity of his decisions, reaffirmed in this unusual yet fulfilling partnership. Returning from their excursion, they embark on another journey, a visit to a place of Kusunoki's memories. Holding hands, Kusunoki and Miyagi walk down familiar streets, reflecting on how those simple activities became meaningful with companionship. As they arrive at their destination, they watch a couple embrace with deep affection. Kusunoki hadn't expected such an emotional sight, becoming aware of the tangible love between them. It stirs something inside him, an unspoken desire for a connection as profound with Miyagi. On the ride back, Kusunoki talks about the transformation his life has taken, the changes striking him as surreal. He laughs at the absurdity of some choices, tiny acts of solitude he can now recall fondly, shaped by her presence. Miyagi listens thoughtfully, unable to suppress her curiosity. When Kusunoki lovingly muses over the quiet bliss they've created together, she responds, "I can't think of anything else I truly want, Kusunoki. This is enough." They drive on, the sun dipping below the horizon. Kusunoki ponders the paths untraveled, the decisions left unmade, but in Miyagi's presence, he finds contentment, a shared heartbeat in the twilight shadows. Arriving one day at a bustling destination, they encounter Miyagi's past, her old friend Inishi, now with someone he clearly cherishes. There's a mixture of laughter and tearful joy in meeting again, a small reaffirmation of bonds. Kusunoki senses the depth of what Inishi and Miyagi once shared. Though no longer romantic, it stirs in him a realization of the past's enduring fingerprints on the present. As scenes come and go, Kusunoki's heart swells with uncharted gratitude. With each shared glance and quiet walk back in their now familiar routines, he clings to the edges of these memories. Kusunoki suddenly finds himself engaged in conversation at a bar, the mundane transforming into potent moments with Miyagi's unsolicited presence by his side. Shimbashi, a neighbor Kusunoki had only casual contact with, notices Miyagi and becomes curious about her existence. Kusunoki, unable to avoid the scrutiny, decides to open up a little, sharing the stories that now define his days. They laugh, and Shimbashi remarks on the perceptible warmth Kusunoki exudes, thinking perhaps Miyagi's influence has seeped visibly into his life. The overt sense of genuine curiosity felt comforting, even as Kusunoki endeavors to remain discreet. In their parting words, Kusunoki reassures Miyagi of his appreciation for her companionship. He realizes that people respond to him differently now, seeing something more than the once invisible Kusunoki, something radiating a quiet resolve. As they leave the bar together, Kusunoki's reflections align with Miyagi's silent understanding. They step into the night, united in their quiet rebellion against fate and its predestined path. Eventually, Kusunoki gathers his courage to take Miyagi to see fireworks, a summer staple that feels heavy with anticipation. Beneath the cascading colors, reality shudders slightly, and for a brief moment, the trivial worries fall silent. Miyagi clings a little closer to Kusunoki, the vibrant light painting their world anew. He feels a deep sense of relief, knowing the firework displays are fleeting, yet willing to etch this moment into their shared narrative. Enveloped by the explosive sky, Kusunoki is reminded of the intrinsic value of these fleeting days. He holds on to Miyagi, accepting that the joy they uncover comes mingled with a quiet, inevitable sorrow, these memories hosting their own transient beauty. Each instant mentions an unspoken promise, strengthening Kusunoki's resolve to cherish what remains. Surrounded by enigmatic souls, Kusunoki's path is now entwined with the understanding that life, though irrevocably finite, harbors endless possibility when shared with those who matter. The fields stretch wide, alive with the chatter of people, as Kusunoki walks hand in hand with Miyagi through the hubbub of a fireworks festival. The crowd is vast, more than he anticipated, and the atmosphere is a swirl of lights and laughter. Despite the festive environment, a deep contemplation stirs within him about the significance of just how many people exist in the world. As they stroll past children entranced by the evening's allure, Miyagi jokes about Kusunoki's unkempt hair, but his response is tinged with humor and self-awareness. The festival feels intensely sensory, echoing with sounds and the scent of vendors selling everything from yakitori to sweet delicacies. Kusunoki muses about not having money for these treats, but Miyagi's presence makes him feel richer than any material possession ever could. While the festival carries on, the heart of their conversation is serious. Kusunoki admits this might be the perfect moment to finally reveal his intentions. No grand display like fireworks is necessary. He wants to savor what time they have left together. "If I can help you with it, I'll do anything," Kusunoki promises earnestly. He directly requests Miyagi to forget him completely once he's gone. This request draws out the vulnerability in both of them, a mutual understanding of impending loss either refusing to accept. Their shared moments are too rare, too precious to be marred by thoughts of separation. Miyagi pauses, visibly struggling with this request. She knows the gravity of tomorrow and what it holds, something they both can't quite articulate. Kusunoki assures her, "I'll never be able to repay the happiness you've given me." His words are heavy with appreciation and impending departure. As the night deepens, they return to the intimacy of the apartment, where silence speaks volumes and tears echo uncried emotions. They cling to each other, trying to draw comfort despite the encroaching shadows of the morning. Kusunoki sells his remaining years, the finality marked by the substitute monitor's indifferent demeanor. Miyagi supports Kusunoki despite his reduction to a mere 30 days of life. She treasures those 30 fleeting days more than any hypothetical years. Kusunoki reminisces on his artistic journey, reflecting on why he once drew and how his perspective shifted. He realizes it wasn't about recognition but about capturing moments, like Miyagi's peaceful face as she sleeps beside him. With a newfound clarity in his art, Kusunoki transcends his former limitations. His drawings now embody emotions beyond technique, capturing what truly matters. The value of these pictures becomes evident, transcending even the years he sold. Kusunoki recalls a prediction that said he would find happiness before the end, and he knew Miyagi was that happiness. The morning dawns, offering Kusunoki a bittersweet freedom, the absence of a monitor marking his days down. He wonders if enough fiction was entangled with reality to make imagining Miyagi by his side plausible, at least for a short while longer. Her presence, even imagined, fills him with hope, something concrete to hold onto. When he meets familiar faces around town, everyone believes Miyagi was just a figment of his storytelling. The disbelief cloaks Kusunoki until Miyagi, remarkably visible to others now, stands beside him. This miraculous return prompts confusion and joy, overwhelming Kusunoki, as the truth of those 30 days unfolds. In an enchanting twist, Miyagi reveals she has indeed regained her days. The unexpected was possible because the real value of happiness, the time they spent together, trumped everything. Kusunoki understands these were not transactions but treasured memories, immortalizing their bond. Miyagi and Kusunoki sit together, sharing a stolen moment as they bask in the serenity of newfound possibilities. They choose to forget what the future might bring, living instead in the embrace of the present, where love outweighs all losses. "How should we spend the next 3 days?" Miyagi asks with a gentle smile, and the answer matters less than the time they have reclaimed together. Through all uncertainties and compromises, Kusunoki learns to cherish each passing second with Miyagi, finding more meaning than his previously numbered days could ever offer. In their shared journey, he finds a love that's not defined by time, but by the depth of the moments they create together.